The story of Ruth captures the essence of unwavering faith, selfless love, and divine providence even in hardship and uncertainties. It tells how Naomi returned to Bethlehem, accompanied by Ruth, her daughter-in-law, after losing her husband and 2 sons, and how she was shown favor by a relative called Boaz. There are several valuable lessons to be learned from the story. Join us as we unfold the story through the pages of the Book of Ruth, a timeless narrative that speaks to the resilience of the human spirit and the boundless depths of God's love. In the land of Bethlehem, there lived a woman named Naomi, along with her husband Elimelech and their 2 sons Mahlon and Kilion. A great famine struck the land, and Naomi's family faced hardship and uncertainty. Faced with the harsh realities of famine, Naomi and her family made a difficult decision. They left their home in Bethlehem and traveled to the land of Moab in search of sustenance and security. Despite their hopes for a better life, tragedy followed Naomi and her family to Moab. Both Elimelech and her sons, Mahlon and Kilion, passed away, leaving Naomi a widow and her sons' wives, Ruth and Orpah, widowed as well. Bereft of her husband and sons, Naomi felt overwhelmed by sorrow and loss. She decided to return to her homeland of Bethlehem, where she had heard that the Lord had provided food for his people. Naomi said to her daughters-in-law, "Go, return each of you to your mother's house. May the Lord deal kindly with you, as you have dealt with the dead and with me." Orpah tearfully bid farewell to Naomi and returned to her people. But Ruth clung to Naomi, refusing to leave her side. Ruth said, "Do not urge me to leave you or to return from following you. For where you go, I will go, and where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God my God." Naomi and Ruth arrived in Bethlehem at the beginning of the barley harvest. The town was stirred by their return, and the women marveled at Naomi's arrival. Despite the warm welcome, Naomi's heart was heavy with grief. She felt bitter and broken, lamenting the losses she had endured. She said, "Do not call me Naomi, call me Mara, for the Almighty has dealt very bitterly with me. I went away full, and the Lord has brought me back empty. Why call me Naomi when the Lord has testified against me, and the Almighty has brought calamity upon me?" And so, Naomi and Ruth's journey to Bethlehem marked the beginning of a new chapter in their lives, a journey marked by faith, loyalty, and God's providential care. In the land of Bethlehem, Naomi and Ruth were given the daunting task of providing for themselves. Ruth took it upon herself to glean from the fields, hoping to find favor and sustenance for her and Naomi. Ruth entered the fields, following behind the reapers as they harvested the barley. She diligently gathered the leftover grain, humbly accepting whatever she could find. As fate would have it, Ruth found herself in the field belonging to Boaz, a wealthy and influential man in Bethlehem. Boaz arrived and greeted his workers, noticing Ruth among them. Boaz took notice of Ruth and inquired about her identity. Upon learning that she was Naomi's daughter-in-law, he spoke kindly with her and offered her protection and provision. He said to her, "Stay close to my young women. Let your eyes be on the field where they are reaping, and go after them. Have I not charged the young men not to touch you? And when you are thirsty, go to the vessels and drink what the young men have drawn." Overwhelmed by Boaz's kindness, Ruth fell on her face and bowed to him, expressing her gratitude for his favor. She said, "Why have I found favor in your eyes that you should notice me since I am a foreigner?" Boaz replied, "All that you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband has been fully told to me, and how you left your father and mother and your native land and came to a people that you did not know before." Ruth worked tirelessly in the field, gathering an abundant harvest of barley. Boaz instructed his workers to intentionally leave extra grain for her to gather, ensuring she and Naomi would have more than enough. And so Ruth found favor in the field of Boaz, a providential blessing that would change the course of her and Naomi's lives. With Naomi's encouragement, Ruth prepared to take a bold step to secure their future. She sought to approach Boaz and request his protection as a kinsman redeemer. Naomi devised a plan for Ruth to present herself to Boaz on the threshing floor after he had finished eating and drinking. She instructed Ruth to uncover his feet and lie down, waiting for him to tell her what to do next. Naomi said, "Wash and anoint yourself, put on your cloak, and go down to the threshing floor." but do not make yourself known to the man until he has finished eating and drinking." Ruth followed Naomi's instructions carefully, preparing herself and going to the threshing floor where Boaz lay sleeping. She carried out Naomi's plan, positioning herself at his feet with reverence and humility. She said to Naomi, "I will do as you say." In the middle of the night, Boaz woke up to find Ruth lying at his feet. Surprised and curious, he questioned her about her presence in the field. "Who are you?" he asked. "I am Ruth, your servant. Spread your wings over your servant, for you are a redeemer," Ruth answered. Boaz was deeply touched by Ruth's request. He acknowledged her virtue and praised her for her loyalty to Naomi and willingness to seek refuge under his protection. He said, "May you be blessed by the Lord, my daughter. You have made this last kindness greater than the first in that you have not gone after young men, whether poor or rich." Boaz assured Ruth that he would act as her kinsman redeemer, but he acknowledged that there was a close relative who had the right to redeem Naomi's land and marry Ruth. He promised to resolve the matter by morning. "Remain tonight, and in the morning, if he will redeem you, good. Let him do it. But if he is not willing to redeem you, then as the Lord lives, I will redeem you. Lie down until the morning," Boaz said. Ruth waited through the night with hope and anticipation, trusting God's providence to guide their future. As dawn broke, Boaz went to the gate of the city where legal matters were settled. There, he met the close relative of Naomi's family, with whom he needed to discuss the redemption of Naomi's land and Ruth's hand in marriage. Boaz approached the close relative, along with 10 elders of the city, and presented the case regarding Naomi's property. He revealed that Naomi was selling the land that belonged to her deceased husband, Elimelech, and that the close relative had the right to redeem it. "You are the nearest redeemer. If you will redeem it, do so. But if you will not, tell me, so I will know. Since no one has the right to do it except you and I am next in line." The close relative initially expressed interest in redeeming the land, seeing it as a profitable investment. However, when Boaz mentioned that the redemption also involved marrying Ruth, the widow of Mahlon, the close relative hesitated. "I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I impair my inheritance. You redeem it yourself," he said. With the close relative relinquishing his right to redeem the land and marry Ruth, Boaz moved ahead with the legal transaction. He publicly declared his intention to redeem the land and take Ruth as his wife, following the customs of the time. Boaz said to the elders, "You are witnesses this day that I have bought from the hand of Naomi all that belonged to Elimelech and all that belonged to Chilion and Mahlon. Also Ruth the Moabite, the widow of Mahlon, I have bought to be my wife." The people who witnessed the transaction at the city gate were filled with joy and blessing. They praised God for his faithfulness and for bringing restoration to Naomi and Ruth. "May the Lord make the woman who is coming into your house like Rachel and Leah, who together built up the house of Israel. May you act worthy in Ephrathah and be renowned in Bethlehem." The people blessed Ruth and Naomi. God blessed Ruth and Boaz with a son named Obed, who would become the father of Jesse, the father of David, Israel's greatest king. Naomi, who had once felt bitter and empty, was filled with joy and purpose as she cared for her grandson. Thus, the story of Ruth concludes with a beautiful picture of God's redemption and provision. Through the faithfulness of Ruth and the kindness of Boaz, God brought about a new beginning for Naomi's family, ultimately leading to the birth of King David.